Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Sabi. Very important information to share with you is that there's a large herd of impala slowly feeding actually right in the direction of this pack of wild dogs. So we probably saw 40 impala maybe a quarter of a mile away, not far at all, and they're heading in this direction. So let's see what happens. But in the meantime, while the dogs are fast asleep, it might be worthwhile switching over to Brent and Brian, who are on the other vehicle. Andrew's on camera with myself this afternoon, and Alex is in final control. And myself and Andrew will base ourselves here for as long as we possibly can, and I'm guessing at around about 5 o'clock there's a chance they will get active, unless of course the impala arrive on the scene beforehand. And if the impala do come here, these wild dog will certainly change their current mood and get into full hunting mode immediately. Anyway, as you can see, there's not much to see here at the moment, so we'll definitely be on the radio with Alex and Brent, updating them on any updates here, and until such point in time we'll cross over to Brent and Brian and see how they're coming along this afternoon.
Afternoon everyone, and welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands here in South Africa. On camera with me today is Brian, and Alex is in final control. And also we've got a special guest with us today. His name's Tulani. He's from the local community, and he's come to do a day or a couple of days of learning camera with Brian. So it's going to be quite exciting. So I'm sure everyone knows Scott's in the west side of the reserve, following up on the wild dogs from this morning. And I'm still trying to break my leopard duck. So we're going to be working the drainage lines and areas around the thickets where Scott and Mark found leopard tracks this morning. So hopefully we get some luck and I get to see my first leopard while at Djuma. So we're going very carefully through all the sandy areas where it's nice and easy to see tracks, and hopefully we find some. There were tracks of a male and female leopard in different parts of the reserve today. At the moment we're following up on the male tracks. We're going to start by checking the drainage line, and then we're going to start heading further sort of northwest, moving back up to where Scott had the last tracks. This way we can try work our way while it's still warm from the furthest and get into the area where it's most likely when it's a bit cooler. Good afternoon, mobile stations. Is any station mobile? So we're looking carefully in all the thick bits of shade at the moment. It is quite warm, the sun's out, although there is a bit of a nip in the air. But at this time of the day, it's more than likely that a leopard is going to be resting either in a tree or in a thick bit of shade at the base of one of these big trees or thickets. Always love driving down drainage lines. Still a bit hot. The bush is almost deathly quiet at the moment. All I can hear is some crickets. I'm not even hearing, well, there we go, just to prove me wrong. I heard little rattlings testicular off to the left, but generally it's almost incredibly quiet at the moment. There's some elephant tracks across through the day. No tracks coming in there. You wouldn't believe how these small drainage lines, when we have short stints of really big storms, can go from bone dry like this to an absolute raging torrent. Looks like the only thing that's been here for a while is elephants, but it doesn't look, the tracks aren't that fresh. Oh, they've been having a good time here. Let's see if we don't get, we go. Brian, can you get a shot in there? Let me just move a little bit so Brian can get a bit of shot on there. Just check the hole on the left for me so I don't drive into it. There we go. So we can actually see here in the dry riverbed that the elephants have actually dug down to get water, and there's even water visible still in there. Even with all the dams around and that, a lot of the elephants will actually prefer to dig out water in a stream bed. There could be a high salt or mineral quality in a certain section, because they haven't been doing it through the rest. It's just the last 50 meters where they've been digging a lot. But very interesting, and some of the tracks here are from today. Now in a lot of arid places, people to survive will actually follow where, if you get stranded out in the bush, you follow where the elephants are, because the elephants drink every day, so you follow their tracks, and you can find areas like this where you can actually take water out for yourself, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that water. It's probably a lot healthier for you than most bottled water. Okay guys, we're going to continue on, and remember, sorry? No problem. Remember guys, if you want to ask me any questions, send your questions on Twitter to hashtag Safari Live, or on email to questions@wildearth.tv. plenty elephant activity around here. Guys, a quick update from Scott. He's still with the wild dogs. They are completely flat out. So he's going to stand by there and wait for them to get moving, and or if they start greeting or doing something a bit more interesting, we'll cut back to Scott and the wild dogs. I'm a bit jealous of him this afternoon, I won't lie.
Me too.
And so is Bri. Copy. Oh, and for all the viewers out there, you heard me talk about trafalgarids or spiral horned antelope. Who can tell me how many different species of spiral horned antelope occur on Djuma? Send your answers to hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or questions at WildEarthTV. Also very much a favorite tree for leopards to sleep in or hoist carcasses into. They're named, the sort of common name jackalberry comes from the fact that the black-backed jackals can be quite often found feeding off the fruit. But always good to stop and double check in a big ebony like that. Try to see if there's a strange shape that might be a leopard. Oh, very quiet on the track front this afternoon so far. Also, these big trees along the drainage lines are favorite roosting places for various types of owls. And there was a survey done in the Sabi Sand and the Kruger Park a few years ago, and hooded vultures, I'll show you a picture of them now, which is the smallest of the vulture species. Almost 85% of their nests were only in those big African ebonies or jackalberries. Sorry guys, we're just going to cut very quick across to Scott. It looks like the dogs are about to get moving. So good luck and enjoy, and I'm very jealous.
Me too. Well, just in a very few seconds, this pack of wild dogs has just got up and started greeting one another, and it really took us by surprise, and it's such awesome action to see. Oh, look at this, you can hear the high-pitched audio of them greeting one another, and this high-pitched twittering is great, and they're heading straight towards the impala. They are going to see these impala if they carry on like this, and this is just wonderful. There go the impala. The dogs are so interested in greeting one another, but they haven't seen the impala running off in the background. But isn't this just wonderful? Now, this is common behavior of them when they do wake up in the morning and evening, and they reaffirm their bonds with this high-pitched chattering, lots of mouthing, and they actually didn't see one of the impala that ran off in the distance, but that's not an issue. looks like it may just be a warm-up to the evening activity though, because they've come straight back to a big shady patch where they may lie down again and have another snooze. But wasn't that just really interesting to see that intense greeting with the whole pack really getting so excited as if they hadn't seen one another for days, that they'd been sleeping just about on top of one another. This one dog seems to maybe have seen something. I can't see what it is that it's looking at. It does have a slightly different angle. No. The dog on the right you can see peering out. I'm not sure what it could be. Those impala got lucky because they had moved considerably closer to the wild dog. I think I can still actually see an impala in the distance, not too far away. Yes, the impala are still nearby, but very difficult to see from here. It will be near impossible for Andrew to show you with the camera, so not worth attempting that.
Maybe not.
Can you see them back there? Okay, have a crack then. So, in that vegetation back there, oh there they are, well done. There are some impala grazing. So they ran off, but not as far as they should have. And they probably just ran off from the audio and probably didn't even see the wild dogs, but heard that high-pitched chattering. And this one wild dog, as you can see, is looking straight in their direction, which is where the wind is coming from. So they could well smell the impala. And let's just see what happens here. Well, the great news is that because they've laid back down now, we can expect them to go through the same ritualistic greeting ceremony when they get up before they move again. So that's great news, because it's something that, because we see these animals so seldomly, we are often not with them when they do wake up, and therefore we don't get to see that greeting very often. Just seeing these animals this morning or at any stage is a privilege, but to see them interacting on that level is something quite spectacular and something that we are very, very fortunate to experience. So I hope you all enjoyed that, and that could well have been a lot of viewers' first views of Wild Dog on Safari Live. And isn't it incredible to think that this is actually happening right now here in Africa, and there's people all around the world watching it. So happy to be able to share that with you, and everyone else on the team is so elated to hear that there's Wild Dog. As I mentioned this morning, Brent was going to have a big smile on his face when I let him know this morning, and he certainly did. So depending on how his leopard hunt goes, there's a strong chance he might come and join into the sighting a little bit later on. So that's something to look forward to for him and Brian. And as quickly as they got up to start greeting one another, it really took us by surprise, and it was probably only 10 seconds after the first animal got up that Alex did link across to us. So we couldn't have done that link much faster than it did come across. So well done to Brent and Alex for switching over to us so quickly. So you didn't miss much, and then from when you arrived to when they've laid down again was probably less than a minute of action, and now they're completely fast asleep as if nothing ever happened. Okay, now the impala are moving out and towards a clearing, and therefore will become more visible, hopefully, to the wild dogs. us, we will be sure to do the same again if there's any more action. Although, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Okay. Now that the wild dog are definitely going to see the impala, I'm almost certain that if they continue heading out to where they are in this clearing, there is going to be some form of action. So now you've got a good idea where the impala are on the right of the screen, just below the horizon, and where the wild dog are just to our left, on the left of the screen. Come on. Maybe they won't actually be able to see, who knows, time will tell. This individual here with his ears up is our best hope at this stage, because he's the only one with his head up, it looks like. And surely they're going to be able to see them from there, but again, I guess when you're lying down in this long grass, they may not just be able to see them.
Must be able to see them.
I know, but imagine lying down in this grass, Andrew. And they're slightly down in a dip, a lot of the impala now, so if they could see them, they certainly wouldn't just be lying here. That I can assure you. Like most predators. Oh, okay, we're in action. See the individual on the left? He's just got up into a very, very typical pose, ears flat, and they will all get up with their ears flat now and start to hunt these impala. And because it all happens so quickly, I'm going to actually preempt what's happening and try and get onto the other side of the impala so we can see the wild dog coming in at full speed. So bear with me. Because they move so quickly, it would be silly for me to wait for them to start hunting. I'd rather try and wait here and see what happens. So 1 second. And Andrew will be able to then show you where the wild dog are now relative to us and relative to these impala. I can still see one standing up. So that was the first little alarm call from the impala. Wasn't a very intent bark, but there was a little bit of a bark, and they are looking in the direction of where the wild dog are, but surprisingly the wild dog appeared to be lying down again. Would you believe it? Maybe I'm wrong. We are in a slight depression here. But very surprisingly, it appears that they have gone back to sleep, which I find bizarre, especially considering the fact that they are not full-bellied. Possibly they just really fancy themselves as supreme predators, which they are, and they do have an extremely high success rate when hunting relative to other predators. And they may just think, well, there's no rush, still a bit early for dinner.
Have you got any visuals?
I've just seen one moving around behind that bush, a very brief glimpse. I can simply see a little bit of movement. Just going to give it a few more moments here and then we'll return and see exactly what these wild dogs are doing. But I don't want to rush back there just yet. Well, something that's worth explaining to you, unlike lion and leopard and cheetah to a degree, they don't rely entirely on the elements of surprise because they're not ambush or short distance hunters, they're long distance hunters, so they can start chasing their prey from a long way off. Even though these impala have seen the wild dogs, the wild dog, oh, there's one moving. And like I was saying, because they are long distance hunters, endurance hunters, they can afford not to ambush their prey, but rather simply run it down to the ground. Can you see that one individual in the gap there?
Yeah.
So there's one member that's got up, as you can see there, looking towards the impala. Let's see what he does. Okay, here are a few more members now beginning to poke their heads up. And what they often start doing at the beginning of the hunt, just as we saw them stand up with their ears flattened, they creep forward, crouch down as far as they can get, but because they're not worried too much about being stealthy and ambushing their prey, it's just to try and get as close as they possibly can. They creep forward very slowly, ears flat, and their body assumes an incredible stance as they do pace forward. And as soon as the prey then starts to run, they too begin to run and chase after the prey. And there's a lot more movement now, and I'm guessing things are going to start to heat up here. But as the dogs now become more visible, here they come. Here they come. Okay, now Andrew, I've warned you, but hold on, because we may need to move at top speed. It could, however, there they go. Okay, now we need to choose which dog to chase, and I'm actually just going to stay here and let Andrew film the rest of the pack move through this clearing. And this is normal. Brent, come to, if you're close to Gari Main, come along Gari Main, or either way, just come into this area. Okay, copy. Your best would probably be then to come along north along Rebecca's and then west on Ballinati's. Now, the other members of the pack that went off into that thick vegetation, it would have been impossible for us to follow them. So what I'm going to do is I'm slowly going to work our way back to these members, and depending what happens impala could end up being chased in a big circle back into this clearing by those other members that we saw. I think it was 3 members that headed off into the bush, if I remember correctly, which means there's 5 here, a pack of 8 in total. And wasn't that incredible to see? So fortunate. There's not many open clearings like this in the Sabi Sands, so to be able to see them running through after those impala was really awesome. Here they come. So they couldn't resist a little trot after the impala, and maybe this is going to have whet their appetite. As you would have heard on the radio, Brent is on his way. Now that they are active and are on the move, because they can move so quickly, it'll be very useful to have both of us in this position, because we can then loop around and check different roads if they do go through one of these big thick blocks. So the third member, the one in front that you can see, just got back, and unsuccessful hunt, and that young little pup, a few members of the pack are begging for food now, hoping that one did get lucky, but no luck. And it was really interesting to see how the pup waited in anticipation for the remaining member to get back in order to try and do some begging. We're a little bit tricky in this very long grass, but we'll try and find a spot where we can show you them from. That should do. It really is incredible. So yes, just to emphasize how lucky we were to find them this morning, because when they're lying down in the shade, you could drive just meters past them without seeing them. Brent, they've laid down again, so potentially carry on with your leopard hunts until they get active again. So it wouldn't make sense for both Brent and myself to be sitting here when they are fast asleep. Certainly more worthwhile for him to go out and search for any other animals, with the main focus being leopard. It's been days now since we've seen a leopard. I've yet to see one since I got here, and neither is Brent, so that is high up on the list of priorities for us. However, obviously anything of interest he finds along the way, he'll be sure to let us know. It will certainly be interesting to see what time they decide to get up, because it was simply the fact that those impala were in very close proximity that got them moving. Like I say, they do look empty-stomached, and, excuse me, could hopefully now have whet their appetite and be inclined to get moving a little bit earlier than normal. But again, because we see them so seldomly, we've got no idea really of what time of the evening they do like to get active at this stage of the year. So I'm guessing anywhere from 5 onwards is a realistic time, so that's only in 15 minutes. But nothing is guaranteed out here, so we can only wait in anticipation for some more action from them. Well, I didn't realise Brent has made it here so quickly, so he might as well come in and have a look. He's parked right behind us. He snuck in without me knowing. Come along, Brent, I didn't realise you were there. Okay, copy, sounds good. We will catch you a little bit later. So there you can see Brent and Brian and Tulani, who's out here to get a little bit of experience, and isn't that a funny sight? So they're going to stick around in this area searching for anything else of interest, and if they find anything, we'll be sure to link up to them and see what they're up to. But nice for you guys to see what the vehicles look like and where the actual show originates from, these little vehicles. And they are certainly great vehicles for this job. Really lucky to have a vehicle that can take us just about anywhere in this terrain. They're incredible off-road vehicles, and because they are so short, they allow us to maneuver between the vegetation far easier than a regular game viewing vehicle. So that's great, and it might be worth linking over to Brent to see what that road that he's just taken brings him, because we know what's happening here, and other than sleeping dogs for now, I think Brent's adventure may be a little bit more exciting for all of you to follow along. So, from Andrew and myself here with the Wild Dogs, goodbye until a little bit later. Well, it appears Brent's having some radio issues, so Alex is battling to get a hold of him, so I guess you'll just be watching this grass blowing in the wind with the wild dog sleeping in the background until such point in time that Brent, check your radio. So I've just got a hold of Brent on the Game Drive channel that you may have heard. Okay, well, they have got a hold of him, so we're going to cut across to Brent and see what they're up to. And as I mentioned before, as soon as these animals get active again, we'll be sure to get a hold of Alex in the final control and make sure you guys get involved in the action too. So until then, enjoy what Brent has in store for you.
A bit of a stop-start. We got the call from Scott and Alex saying, well, look, you need moving. You move into the area in case they start hunting through the bush, because it's really almost impossible to follow dogs with one vehicle. So as we got there, they lay down again. We did find some leopard tracks, so we know where they are to go look for a bit later. We're just double checking around this block now to see if the tracks come through. And a magpie track. Morning. There he is. Oh, it's a bit bad, right? You just get around to a bit bigger light. Oh, and I heard something else. Where they're hiding. There's another magpie out in the light there. And I can hear some dwarf mongoose in the grass here as well. So what's probably happening is the mongoose are foraging below. And I think the magpies and there's some hornbills that are taking advantage of the flying insects that the mongoose are disturbing. It shows you how flocks of magpie shrikes, you wouldn't believe it, I've seen them kill when they meet two flocks. They're actually very, very aggressive. I'm not 100% sure they're territorial, but they really have big fights between the different flocks. It's actually quite a nice little bird party in and amongst there. They've flown off now, but there's some hornbills, some red-billed buffalo eaters. I'm still trying to spot one of the dwarf mongoose in the grass. I think I got one, let me just double check. I'm not sure, the grass is a bit long. I see a little bit of movement there. Come on guys, you're not really making it easy for me to spot you. Oh, it's hopped up. Maybe we should try and watch the magpie shrike to see where the mongoose are feeding underneath. And still you have them moving on and that little contact call between them. I'll leave the magpie. I think he's got a better advantage to see the mongooses than we do. Keep checking for some tracks. I really do enjoy these sort of quarry, short grass areas. Got lots of this magic quarry growing, good short grasses. Means it's always very good for prey species, which means it's always very good for predators. Onto Zoe's Road and check there if we don't get anything before we hit the main road into Djuma Lodge. But so far, on the big animal front, it's been quite a quiet afternoon. Oh, we got some kudu up ahead. Sorry, I asked, oh wait, before we go to the kudu, I just spotted a red-crested koran hiding in the grass. You see him there, bro? Just to the left of the weeping wattle. So the red-crested cran's got quite an interesting nickname. It's called the suicide bird. And the reason that it's got that nickname is during that sort of it's December up to January, even a bit of November, during their mating season, they perform one of the more spectacular mating displays of any African bird I've seen. And what they do is the male will start off with a call going, sort of building in crescendo. That's not the best imitation. And he'll fly straight up into the air, and then he'll close his wings completely, and then plummet to the ground and open his wings just before he hits the ground. And that's all to impress the ladies. And the sun's in behind him, so I know it's quite difficult to see him nicely. So what I'm going to do is we're going to try to stay with him, but it looks like he's disappearing into the base of that thicket, moving very slowly. That's one of his forms of defense against predators. And I'll get you a picture in the book so you can have a better look at what he is. There we go. I found him in the book. So it is number 4. See there, guys? And then you can see when the male is doing that display, there's a very distinct red crest that sticks out, and that's only during that sort of suicide display that he does that. But a very interesting bird. Yeah, let's go see if we can find those. Okay. Guys, we're not going to go up to those kudus. We just got there. We're going to cross back to Scott. It seems like those animals are going to start moving in quickly, so we're going to shoot quickly back to Scott.
We're not taking any chances. 1 or 2 members of the pack have got up temporarily, and they could well be getting into full swing of things. Just stand by, Brent. And I think they could be on the move shortly. Just stand by, Brent. I just want to see if they are going to get up. Because if they do get up and active, it will be useful for us to let Brent know that immediately. But no point in getting them to rush back here if they all lie down again. And what could be the dominant male, like I say, I haven't seen this pack many times. I think I have seen them once before, but hard to tell. But one of the members that did stand up initially well, he was a very big male, and he could be the dominant one. There's 2 males that look like they are adults, one considerably larger than the other. That doesn't necessarily mean that the larger one is dominant. The young one may have a feisty attitude that's allowed it to attain dominance. The one on screen now looks like a younger member, a pup possibly from last year. But there is still a lot to learn about this pack, and hopefully we will be able to witness them on the move. A lot depends on where they decide to move. Because they do move very quickly when they do get on the move, they can often shake us off very quickly, and they don't necessarily always follow the roads, which means we have to loop around very big blocks. And even though they may be heading in a certain direction, when they cut into a block, they could well veer off. They are lying down again, Brent, just to keep you updated. Well, like I say, we were just making sure that you didn't miss any action. So as soon as those first two members stood up, we got a link from Brent. But as you can now see, they've calmed back down. But all these signs that we are seeing are great signs for future activity this evening. And there's still plenty of daylight, so lots of time for them to still get active and for us to follow them. They are not an animal that we would follow with the spotlight, even though they are known to hunt at night and early hours of the morning in the darkness. Because they aren't strictly nocturnal animals, we do not view them with the spotlight. So that is something to bear in mind for later on this evening if we are still lucky enough to be with them when it does get dark. Just got a question through from Steve in the UK. Good afternoon, Steve, and welcome on board. Steve is asking whether if we were on a bush walk on foot through an area like this and the wild dogs were in full swing hunting, would they see us as a potential food source? And the answer to that is no, Steve. Wild dogs are typically very afraid of humans, and I've never heard of any encounters where people have been attacked by wild dogs. If ever it has happened, it would have in all likelihood happened in situations where there's potentially captive breeding programs, which there are for this animal because they are an endangered animal. So a lot of captive breeding programs to ensure a healthy population is sustained. And the nice thing with wild dogs is that they can be reintroduced into the wild fairly successfully, even if they are raised captively. So it's a good question, but they do not pose a threat to us on foot. And the main threat that we actually do face out here on foot would be, for me, buffalo, especially the large old bulls who separate from the big breeding herds. So that would be my number one concern. And then elephants, especially the females with their babies, so breeding herds of elephants. Those are my main two concerns. Funnily enough, it's not really the predators that we have to worry about too much, but that does vary from area to area. And at the end of the day, something that's also very important to understand for all of you who may be coming out here on safari, it's not nearly as dangerous as you think it is to be out in the wilderness, provided you are being taken around by somebody who knows what they're doing. Your chances of coming into a dangerous encounter are very, very slim. So it's not something that you should pass up. It's an opportunity that I would suggest everybody should try and do if they ever get the opportunity to, because it really is uplifting to be able to walk through any pristine wilderness area. But in Africa, with all of the animals that create so much excitement and adrenaline, it really does take it to the next level. So I hope that answers your question, Steve, and I hope we do get to see them hunting in full swing this afternoon. What on earth have I just seen back there? Did another wild dog go into the shade at the back there? I've just seen something rear up. I don't know if it was a snake or the... What is that?
I think it must be another walker.
I'm not convinced though. It doesn't look like a body part from a wild dog. So let's just wait and see what happens here. There could be a snake in this long grass. There's no wild dog there, so you've got the shadow there. Did you see it go up, Andrew?
Yeah.
That is a wild dog. False alarm. It's a wild dog that snuck off behind a shady bush and was raising its leg up in there, and I thought it could have been a snake. Copy that. Thanks for that message. And we are on Impala Plains Balanites Road, so on our western boundary, basically, very close to the central traversing parts of Arethusa. And again, there's some action from these pack members, and they've slowly risen up, and it's hard to tell what causes them to get up all of a sudden, but like I say, because they have been starting the process, it's almost like us hitting the snooze button in the morning. They kind of delay getting up into a point, and then eventually obviously hunger takes over and it's time to move on. Just going to reposition slightly. Brent, what's your position now? Okay, copy. They are showing signs of potentially getting up. Any one of the four on the compass, probably, would be my closest guess. They are looking west at the moment, so may possibly head there, and if they do, we can follow them.
So you think this is one of the heifers?
Yes, exactly. Thanks for pointing that out, Andrew. So this individual here with a big chunk out of the corner of his ear, his right ear, and a very tattered left ear, he's been through a few interesting stories, I'm sure, and it looks like he could be the dominant male. He is the biggest out of the two big males. And the individual standing up next to him could well be an alpha female. But difficult to say, and I'm not going to confirm anything. Oh, interestingly enough, the individual on the left's got quite a lot of fresh blood dripping out of its ear. Possibly even now from chasing these impala through the vegetation. The blood is very fresh on its left ear, the right ear in the screen of the furthest right animal. They do move at such high speeds that that's probably how their ears do get torn a lot of the time, from being shredded by thorn bushes as they fly through the vegetation after their prey. Unless, of course, it is simply a tick that's just been nibbled off. Now, a tick is an ectoparasite that sucks blood, and you can see how they're nibbling on one another's ears. So it simply could have been a tick that's been removed. Now go ahead, Andrew. Sorry, Alex. Sandra from Pennsylvania, good afternoon and welcome on board. Sandra's asking whether, by us being around, we give the Impala a sense of security. I don't think we impact at all in terms of what the Impala think. They are so used to seeing us and us stopping and viewing them without any predators around that it would be difficult for them to assume that simply by seeing us there'd be a predator nearby. More often than not, when Impala do see us, it's sadly not in the presence of a predator. So therefore it would be difficult for them to assume that we are impacting on their feeling of security. If anything, if we're not careful when we're guiding, we may help prey detect any predators by alerting them to looking at us, a big moving object, and then therefore honing in, if we're too close to that predator, honing in on that area and then potentially spotting the predator. So it's something we have to be careful about, actually, to not do the opposite of that and impact negatively for either the predator or the prey.
Have you seen that wounded zebra?
I've yet to. I think I've seen it, but I haven't seen it hobbling. I just saw it standing under the shade.
Last time I saw it was in this area, just up here.
Okay.
So just something to...
That would be an interesting challenge for them to take down, because the zebra is a big prey item for wild dog, but they are known to take down big prey. In this area, I've only seen them focusing on smaller prey, mainly impala, but they certainly can take down prey as big as zebra and wildebeest. And Brent has now arrived, and I think it's a good time for him to have arrived, because again, if they do get active, and if they do start moving, to have two vehicles here would be added insurance to be able to try and show you as much footage of these animals as possible. It could be weeks before we see them again. I only saw them once or twice in the 2.5 month period I was here over November, December and January. And this is what we've been waiting for. This is looking good. It'll be interesting to see whether they do their high-pitched chattering greeting again. I'm guessing that they will, even though they did it a little bit earlier. I'm guessing they're going to get one another really revved up and amped up for the afternoon's adventure. And we'll just stand by a moment or two and hope that they get active. So this could be the alpha male and alpha female that are leading the charge. So it's not the male that I thought was potentially the alpha male, with the chunk missing out of its right ear. Here he comes from the back. So these seem to be the three adults, but which of the two males is dominant, I'm not too sure, because we're not going to be able to film anymore from this angle. Okay, well, audio is on me, but the image is coming from Brent, and Alex is mixing it up and making the most of this opportunity where we do have two vehicles in the sighting. So, what a luck this is. We are heading into a bit of a tricky area for us, but that's not an issue, and we'll do our best to stay with them for as long as we can. Oh, wonderful, a pack of wild dogs on the move. So, I was wrong about them greeting one another. Oh, here they go. I wasn't wrong. And a lot of that is begging for food from the youngsters, but it is also a greeting, and this is them getting ready for action. Absolutely wonderful. I'm going to loop ahead of where Brent is now to try to kind of preempt where they are heading, and you'll still be getting the close-up images from Brent, who's trailing behind them. And this is the beauty of having two vehicles out with an animal like this. A third vehicle's just joined the sighting, so that's also great that there's other guests sharing this experience to us. But we're going to switch the audio to Brent now, so over to him, and we'll catch up with you later.
Afternoon, guys. Afternoon, guys. As you can see, Scott called me in case they got moving to hunt, so we can try to stay with them. I'm very, very happy, obviously. I'm very, very happy. So they've just started getting moving. We're here at the exact right time of the day. So what Scott's done now is he's jumped ahead to the next road to ensure we can, in case we lose them in the thicket, he'll find them coming out onto the next road. So they just started that greeting ceremony, and we just saw it there, all the high-pitched squeaking and whatnot, and a lot of facial touching, and very, very important for wild dogs in terms of the pack social structure and keeping together. Sorry, I gotta start up here now. And they're probably the most difficult animal to follow through the bush because they move so quickly and they can disappear in seconds. That's why having two vehicles, Scott's driving around in front and waiting for them. Yeah, Alex, they should come out almost exactly where Scott is. So Scott's on the road in front of us. So working as a team like this, it enables us to follow them far more easily. And that's why with wild dogs, as you can see, they move quite quickly. They're not like lions that sort of stroll, and even when they do hunt, they're only going to have that charge for a maximum of 50-60 meters. I mean, wild dogs can keep that speed going for up to 2-3 kilometers sometimes. Now they stopped listening, smelling, still waking up. Oh no. And some of them decided they're not quite fully awake yet. And see the one there. Alright. We're just going to move around so I can get a better picture. Just heard in my ear that where Scott is, there's an elephant bull, so it might be really exciting. We might see them playing and teasing the elephant. They've been known to do that. See how quickly they've decided to change direction. And then behind them is Scott, so he can shoot round, make sure we don't lose them. We're just going to have to try and find a gap through here, guys. Okay, we're going to cut to Scott quickly. I'm just going to try and get myself out of this mess.
Well, welcome back, and wasn't that a great sight to have wild dogs and a big elephant bull in the same shot? The elephant seemed to not notice the wild dogs, or possibly not to pay too much attention to them. The wind was blowing in his direction, so he could have smelt them, but didn't seem too perturbed. The good news is these animals are on the move, and so great to have Brent here being able to swap between the two vehicles. And Alex is doing a great job from the final control, because it's not something that we are used to. So consider yourselves lucky to be a part of this adventure, because this doesn't happen often, and it's a first for me, having two vehicles in a sighting of this nature. These animals, because they often zigzag from side to side and don't necessarily take a set course. Such beautiful colors and patterns on their coats, all very different to one another. And they're off. So what we will do is we'll take turns between us being in front and the other vehicle from the other lodge being in front. So be prepared for that, and that's only fair that we leapfrog with one another to both allow everyone involved a decent opportunity to view these animals. And you can just see how effortlessly they trot down the road, and they can move like this for many, many kilometers. And often once they get going, and they're just warming up now, they won't stop until they find something to eat. But as I mentioned before, just like us humans, it takes us a while to get going in the morning. We'll pull over now, and I'm going to let the other vehicle go past first, and then let Brent go past, and then we'll join the back of the queue. So Alex will then be ready to switch over to Brent's vehicle when it is his chance to lead. Brent, please let the other vehicle know that they're more than welcome to head up front. So they're currently heading directly north, which does suit us to a degree, but we would prefer them to head east onto our property, so right onto off the road, as opposed to left. So we'll lose visual shortly, but then Alex is going to switch over to Brent's vehicle, and Brent should be able to get a decent view from the right-hand side of the road, and that way bring you a good shot. So in the next few seconds you'll be getting an image from Brent. He's just passed by, as you can see, and you'll also notice the other vehicle will stay on the right-hand side, left-hand side of the road to allow Brent to view. Okay, well, we're going to hand over to Brent now. So again, apologies for any little bits of confusion here, but
Hi guys, welcome back with me. Scott's just let me go ahead of him and then he's going to come up behind us and leapfrog us next. Oh, it looks like they've seen something. They're on the go, they've seen an impala. I think an impala. I can't see. The impala running down the road in front of us. It's just kind of only, we can't actually see. I can see one dog. There's a dog on the impala. Scott's got it. Okay. Off to the left, we've got a dog there, right? Oh, it looks like they just missed that impala. I don't know if anyone managed to see this impala just shot across the road. We've actually got dogs behind us, dogs in front of us. That's why they're so exciting. And just keep an eye on the one dog I can see in case we lose the others.
welcome back, folks, and that was a bit of excitement. There were a few impala that the pack began to chase off in all directions. Some went left of the road, some went right of the road. Anyway, they do all appear to be congregating again, so they hashed to temper. What it means is we've got into the lucky position where we are in front of them, and now we get to see their frontal shot as they run down this road towards us, and we are going to get some magical images if they do continue down towards us. Filming this kind of action must be a cameraman's best and worst nightmare because there's so much going on. So they've certainly got their work cut out for them, Andrew and Brian. But this is, days like this are what we wait weeks and months for. So if it is your first drive on Safari Live, welcome, and you couldn't have got any better timing than this, because this is some magical action. And there you can see Brent and Brian, who are also here enjoying this with us, which is also something wonderful, because as a lot of you may know, this is Brent's favorite animal. And for all of us, it's an animal that we rarely see and always do love seeing because of the excitement they bring when they are on the move. So now what they're doing is waiting for the other pack members to return. And just like in human society, with animals, certain individuals will be better at hunting than others, and others will also try harder at hunting than others. So these members, you could say, are the lazy ones. Not necessarily always the case, but they are waiting for the other members to return, and they could return and call these members back to a kill that they've made. They will come and look for pack members and bring them back to a kill. Oh, here comes one member right from the back in the distance. So they've seen him, and that's wonderful to see. And isn't this a great shot? Brent's enjoying this camera opportunity as the wild dog comes running past, and sadly we have a small signal issue coming from Brent's vehicle, so can't switch over to him now at the moment, but Alex is working on that in the final control, and hopefully we'll get some images of them soon. Some more greeting displays and behavior, and they'll continue to do this throughout the afternoon. And with a little bit of luck, they're going to continue on this course that they've been taking in a northerly direction, which will bring them closer towards us, and we'll just continue to reverse slowly down this road. And now we've got Brian on camera, and the audio is still coming from my vehicle, so you're getting to see the show from both sides of the spectrum. And again, well done to Alex in the final control, who's doing all of this, as well as fixing signal issues along the way. It'll be interesting to know what they're all sniffing there, but hard to tell. It could be a dung from another predator, or potentially even a tortoise. I've seen wild dog be captivated by tortoises on many occasions. It appears that the other vehicle, I'm guessing, has not left the sighting, but may have rushed off searching for or trying to follow another pack member on the hunt. But hard to say. I hope he hasn't left, because there's still a lot more action to come from this sighting. Well, it seems like the sniffing has subsided, and I'm guessing they're going to continue moving at any stage shortly. Whose picture we on now? If you can keep us updated on that, I'd prefer it, please. So for narrating. So I freewheeled for as long as I could, but that wasn't sustainable because the hill has come to an end, and now we start reversing. I wish the speedometer worked so I could tell you how fast we were moving, but it doesn't. But we're on the move, and this is magical. Brent following from behind, myself reversing in front of them. And this is absolutely magical. So I hope you're all enjoying it. So, back to our picture, and again, such a good idea from Alex, the way he's controlling and handling this sighting from the director's point of view, and I hope you're enjoying the luxury of having shots coming from both vehicles, because it is, again, just so unique for us both to be in such a special sighting. Not uncommon for wild dogs to stop and assess the situation every couple of 100 meters to make sure they're not missing any potential prey. I'm trying to stay on the left-hand side of the road as much as possible because we are approaching the other vehicle that did head off and follow them on the hunt. He's rejoined us, thankfully, so still a part of this adventure. And it's so important to share this with as many people as possible. We're just going to pass them now and let the wild dogs run past them. And I am actually going to leave this sighting now because there is a third vehicle waiting very nearby, so Brent can stay with them and enjoy it, or either Brent drops off and I stay with them because I'm in front. It might be better. Alex, it might be better to stay with me because I'm in front of them, and Brent can just drop off because there's another vehicle waiting to join. Brent's just going to have a chat with that guide there. We are having trouble with our radios at the moment, so it's difficult for us to communicate with the guides. But it looks like where they are crossing into, the other guide's saying we can follow on. So we're going to go. Okay. Cool. We will catch you all a bit later. Well, in terms of Brent and Brian. Good afternoon. How are you doing? Okay. Now we are heading into an area that I don't know very well, which is going to make things difficult for us in terms of if they do head off the roads in any directions, and it is also going to be a little bit bumpy, so hold on. And we can now just realize how lucky we've been at the start of this sighting. The visuals we've had in perfect golden sunlight and open clearings, as now it's going to become more and more tricky to show you great shots of them. But we are still with them, and that is what matters. Just going to let the other vehicle head in front for a while, because we have had a lot of great views. And actually let them both pass because we have been here longer than anyone. And now really what we are waiting for, thanks Andrew, now really what we are waiting for hopefully is to see some real action if they do bring down a prey member. So for those of you who have just joined, I apologize, but it is only fair for us now to let the other vehicles go ahead and spend some time showing their guests the animals, because we've certainly had better sightings than anyone else at this stage. So it's only fair for them to continue. And there should be another vehicle coming past, and I am also going to let them past. It's so important for us to share things out fairly, and I think this is the fairest option at the moment. So just to keep you updated on that and why I'm doing it, and like I say, to actually let these guys stay in front will bode in our benefit, because if they do manage to stay with them, they'll be the better people to do it than me, because they know this property very well. Scott here from WildEarth, just testing if my radio works. Can anybody copy me? Sorry, just let me know when I need to leave the sighting. Okay, copy, thank you very much. Okay, cool, thank you very much.
And then the other guys coming in, I'll make space for them.
Thank you so much. We've been very, very lucky in that one of these vehicles, even though we've been here for longer than them and had better sightings than them, they've been very kind and said they are going to just cycle out between their own vehicles from the Arathusa Lodge. So they're being very hospitable to us, and we can only be very grateful for that. So rather than trying to continually keep us in front, showing you visuals of them not necessarily doing anything, I would rather hang back until there is some serious action, and then we can try and get into a better position. But until that point, we have had some great kind of regular views of them, and now it's time to let them enjoy some decent views. But the most important thing is that we are being allowed to stay, and by being allowed to stay, if something serious does happen, we will then get to see it and share that with you. Whew. So just to keep you updated, Brent has headed out to continue on his leopard hunt. So I'm really glad he did get to join us and spend some time with the sighting, and I hope you enjoyed the changes in picture and audio that Alex was doing from the final control, because that is unique. We've just had a viewer from the back of this vehicle say that he watches us on WildEarth. And now he's out here on vacation experiencing it live for himself. So isn't that just absolutely wonderful? Enjoy. Thank you. Okay, well, it's important for these animals to stop and start, not only to look for potential prey, but also to look for other predators, like lion, for example. So, 100 meters, they stop, assess the situation, listen, because if they were to run into a pride of lion, they would be in trouble. And a lot of wild dog in this area do get killed by a lion because there is such a high density of of lion. Hey, afternoon, how you guys doing? Good, good. So another vehicle has just joined and replaced the other vehicle that was here initially with us. So again, just updating you on how it all works. There's a maximum of 3 vehicles allowed in sightings, and it's all controlled over the radios. It is difficult for Andrew in scenarios like this with other vehicles because technically we should not be filming any people without them having signed a waiver. So that is why you may notice some interesting camera maneuvers from Andrew trying to avoid showing people to the best of his ability. As you can tell by this vegetation surrounding us, it's very, very thick. So we are lucky that they are spending time on the road, and it's natural for humans and animals to take the path of least resistance, and this is exactly what they are doing. There should be a little gap where we can get a few visuals of them now. And I might even be able to squeeze through that gap in the vehicle. I think that is the plan. It's our turn to go in front for a moment. So we shall do that. Thank you. Okay.
Back in the hot seat.
Back in pole position, Andrew. And again, I'm just going to give you guys short glimpses of them and then continue to let these game viewers with guests on see as much of them as possible. And that way it'll, in all likelihood, prolong our stay with them, because we are giving the guest vehicles good views, and then that allows them to cycle out at a faster rate to allow everyone who wants to view these animals a chance. So it's a bit of a trade-off here that we're involved in, but again, we're very lucky that the guides are making special permission for us, and they are bearing in mind that there are thousands of people viewing this show abroad, and it therefore almost makes more sense for us to be able to stay longer because we're sharing it with more people, whereas a lot of them only have 6 guests on their vehicle. But in their defense, they've come a long way to see animals, so they also deserve a chance. And again, because I haven't spent much time on this property, I'm not exactly sure where they are heading towards. So, but they could at any stage come into a big clearing. And if they do come to a clearing, then there's a strong chance that they will find some potential prey there and chase them down. Not to say they wouldn't chase prey down if they saw it now through this thick vegetation. They certainly would. So I'm just going to try and duck out of the way here to allow Andrew to give you some close-up shots of these beautiful animals. Really interesting how they have these massive ears, far bigger than a dog would usually have. Oh, what is that member seen? It seems to be darting off with quite a lot of excitement. What was it that caught his attention there? Hard to tell, but they did a good job in staying with that one as it pounced through this long grass. And again, with those massive ears, they'll be picking up a lot more sounds than we are. It's so useful for them because they don't necessarily use their ears much for hunting, but it's more for relocating the pack when they do bombshell and split up, chasing prey in all directions. Because they could all end up in such big gaps between one another, they will require that shearing to be able to relocate on prey members, on pack members, and then continue with their action. Huh? All good there, Alex? Is everything okay? Your side? I don't know what he's doing. Unless he finds something, we will, I think, maybe stay with us. But if he finds anything, anything really, we can go across to him. But your call. Perfect. That way Brent can also give a bit of a debrief on his thoughts of the sighting. Cool. Okay, well, we are going to link back to Brent and hear what he has to say about the sighting that we've had. And that way it'll just mix up your scenery a little bit, and if anything does happen with these wild dog, Alex will link straight back to us. So over to Brent, and we'll catch up with you hopefully when these wild dog catch up with some impala.
Welcome back, guys. While Scott's stuck behind some other vehicles, we're gonna carry on looking for the leopards we started out looking for this afternoon. So we found the tracks of that male leopard, and they went into the block to the west of this dam. So we're just doing a loop around all the roads to make sure that the leopard hasn't crossed out of it. So hopefully we'll get some luck, and if there is any action with Scott, we'll cut back immediately. Hi guys, so you've come to join me while Scott is stuck behind other vehicles. What we're doing now is following up on the leopard we started following up on this afternoon. If anything does happen with Scott, we're going to cut immediately straight back to him. Okay, copy. So the tracks that Scott and Brian following this morning were actually coming into this area here. So we're just double checking that there hasn't been any movement around. Whoa, whoopsie. Wrong here. Oh, there's it. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask us. Hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, and questions at WildEarthTV via email. Just some buffalo tracks. Impala in the road. So I've got a question for you guys out there. Who can tell me how long has an impala been in its current form? So we've been in our current form, according to fossil records and evolution, for between 150 and 200,000 years. How long do you think? Here you go. Let's go to the left. Sorry, Brian. I know he's going to run. How long do you think an impala has been in this form for? So there's an interesting question. Send your answers to on Twitter, #SafariLive, and via email, questions@WildEarth.tv. Bingo was his name, but now we've got trucks going in two directions. That's just great. Afternoon, Lynn. Welcome on Game Drive with us this afternoon from Toronto. Unfortunately not, Lynn. 3 billion years is a little bit long. I think there weren't even mammals 3 billion years ago. I'm not even sure if they were reptiles. They're probably just single-celled organisms. Okay, on Twitter, a little bit closer, it says 1 million years. Marianne, 250,000. What I'm going to do is I'll answer it now. I just want to double check where these leopard trucks are going, because I've got male leopard trucks going in both directions here. I'm just going to jump off the car and double check on these leopards, see which one's the most fresh.
And we are hoping the wild dog are going to be here, but we have lost them temporarily. They've headed into a very thick block, but the other guides have spread out. We're going to wait here for probably not too much longer and then continue. They could be anywhere now, but at least there are 3 vehicles here trying to relocate on them, and we might get lucky. If not, though, we've had such a wonderful afternoon with them that we'd be greedy to expect or want anything more, but you can't help but want a little bit more, I'm sorry. So the guide who had them last isn't sure which direction they headed in, but we all kind of split up, and there's a network of roads in this area that I don't know too well, but the fact is we are in the area and they could pop out around any one of these corners again. So this is really exciting stuff. They're really moving at high speed now, which means the intensity of their hunting is increasing, and we can only hope that they are going to pop out here at some point. Like I say, if they do find an animal of any sort to chase down, depending in which direction that animal may have gone, will obviously influence which way the pack of dogs have gone. Now, I'm inclined to think that they headed to our left, but I know this road to our left, and it's a tricky one. It's along a riverbed, and actually in a riverbed a lot of the time. So I'm just going to wait here for a second or two, and maybe Andrew can show you the beautiful moon that's rising up to the east in the meantime. I'm just going to get my bearings on the old map and try and establish what our best option is. They're quite big blocks that we are dealing with here, which means a big piece of untouched wilderness surrounded by a road network, but within the four roads it's a very large area. Okay. Anyway, sorry Andrew for that unannounced exit. We're going to continue though, and with a bit of luck they could pop out onto one of these roads. We're lucky it's not a month ago when the vegetation was considerably thicker, making it that much harder to relocate them, but thankfully in terms of viewing it's getting a lot easier. The vegetation's thinning out on a daily basis. There could be a little bit more rain to come this season, but it's already noticeably started to wilt and thin out, which certainly makes for easier game viewing for us. Herbivores won't be too happy with the situation, but the predators and ourselves will be. So that moon that you saw earlier, even though it's not full, because the skies are so clear and there's so little, the lighting that we get in the evenings when the moon is this full, and obviously all the way to full moon, is really incredible. You can drive around without any headlights and still see clearly enough to not use any lights on the vehicle, which is a really special way to get around in a beautiful place like this in an open vehicle. Hoping that we do find them again, but just to prepare you for the worst, it is a very small probability of bumping into them again. So just like that, they were gone. but we always knew that that could happen, and I hope I preempted that happening enough to create not too much of a disappointment. Copied that. Well done on relocating, but I'm happy for the other vehicle to continue. We've had a great afternoon, and yeah, enjoy. I'll be crossing back. Sorry, Alex. Copy that. I'm going to move out of the area and make my way slowly back so we can cut back to Brent now. So just to give you a quick debrief there, they did manage to relocate them, but it's such a thick area, the sun's about to go down, which means we won't be able to view them, and there was one more vehicle who was hoping to come in and get a glimpse. And by us being there would have prevented that vehicle coming in. So I think it's only fair that we move out, let them have a little look, and there's only about 15 or 20 minutes left of sunlight, so they could just quickly disappear again, and it would be unfair for that vehicle not to see them. So sadly that's it for the wild dog this afternoon, but what it means is we can spend the rest of this time looking for other animals. So it's not all over, it's certainly not, and let's cut back to Brent now, see what he's up to. I believe he was halfway through a quiz with some of you, and we'll let him finish that off and catch up with you a little bit later.
Hi guys, welcome back. Just so we can clarify all the answers that were coming in. There were a lot of answers. I'm sorry I can't remember everyone's name, it was a while ago. I think the closest was 1 million years and 2 million years. It's about halfway in between that. So impala have been unchanged for about 1.6 million years, and the reason for that is that they're such a successful design that even with the high predation, because everything eats impala, they're still able to produce enough babies every year to keep the species going. That's why they haven't had a need to evolve further, because of how successful their design is at the moment. So another update on the leopard tracks we're following. We found tracks on... Oh, sorry, that Marianne on Twitter got 1.5 million, so there's the closest. So just an update on those leopard tracks is we found tracks that are on top of Brian and Scott's tracks from this morning, and we can't find exactly where they leave the road, but it's somewhere just off to the side of the drainage line. So we're sitting at Treehouse Dam now, and we're just going to sit really quietly for 5-10 minutes, because it is the right time of the day for the leopard to get moving, and hopefully we can hear an alarm call or something that might give us presence away. In the meantime, I'm going to take a quick stroll, and you can watch me. I'm going to walk to certain parts of the dam where I think he might have drunk. There's a lot of your smarter, or not smart is the wrong word, your more solitary predators, and a lot of your predators won't go drink at sort of anywhere in the dam in case of crocodiles. They will always sort of drink in a little nook or cranny where there's very shallow water, so they've got they lessen their chance of predation from crocodiles. Okay.
Mobile in the north,
Well, it's just a few seconds ago, literally, the sun ducked below the horizon. So, like I said, it'll soon be getting dark. There'll still be ambient lights even though the sun is set, but it will mean that very shortly the vehicles with those wild dog will have to leave them and let them continue on their evening. So we just thought we'd show you this sunset shot. There's a beautiful glow on the western horizon and it's an absolutely perfect evening. A light breeze that you can see moving the leaves around a little bit, but a very pleasant temperature and a beautiful time of year to be out here in the low velds of South Africa. We're right up on our northeastern border here of the country, very close to Mozambique. Mozambique, as the crow flies from here, is probably only about 80 or 100 miles away, so not far at all, and it's a beautiful part of the country. I believe Brent was off the vehicle, probably looking for any sign of leopard, I'm guessing. And he's back on the vehicle now, so we'll cut back to him, and we're also going to head into an area where I'm feeling lucky for leopard. So over to Brent and we'll catch up with you a bit later.
Welcome back, guys. It doesn't look like that leopard's come and drunk here at all. So we're going to go around onto the next road called Savage's Track and make sure the tracks haven't come. So I think he might have gone through the drainage line quite straight across. And if we don't get anything here, we'll check towards Philemon's cut line. It is the right time of the day to find leopards. Remember, any questions, guys? On Twitter, hashtag Safari Live, or email us on questions@wildearth.tv. Scott coming. What area are you checking now? Sorry, just I'm having earpiece issues. Oh! Tiny little Franklin in front of us. Hiding in the grass now. Let's see if Brian can find them. Copy, Alex. Sorry, I'm having earpiece issues. I can't. I'm reading you 1 out of 5. So, guys, you can see there's a crested Franklin, and she's got a few very small babies that are running around in the grass as well. Five. Confirm RC from the Netherlands. Afternoon, RC from the Netherlands. Welcome on Drive with us. RC's managed to find a link somewhere on the internet that says the Miocene Impala, which is 6.5 million years, hasn't changed very much, or the Impala hasn't changed very much since then. And certain scientists consider that Impala to be exactly the same as the current day Impala. Thanks very much, RC. That's really, really helpful. When I get back tonight, I'm going to have to read up on my Impala knowledge. Good afternoon, Jim from Texas. Jim's asking whether if a pack of wild dogs and a leopard were hunting the same Impala, who would get it? Jim, it would depend, but I would say 99.9% of the time it would be the wild dogs. Even if the leopard caught it, the wild dogs would chase him off it. Wild dogs often chase leopards and push them up trees. Keep the questions down. So we've got road tracks coming out here, so we're going to take this little link and do one last little loop, because it is quite a small triangle where the tracks go into, and hopefully we come up with something. I think we should start looking carefully to the tops of termite mounds at this time of the day. Leopards will be moving out to get a nice vantage before they head out hunting. definitely this and just around dawn are my two by far favorite times of the day. Bumpy, bumpy. So I've just put the headlights on, and that's because we don't have any top light from the sun now that throws a shadow, which makes tracks easier to see. So as it gets darker, I'm actually just using the headlights now. So if there is a track on the road, I'll be able to pick up the little edges just from the shadow. These leopards have really been giving us a slip over the last week. At least now we've actually got some tracks on the property, but for the last week we've barely had a track. Go ahead. Triangling around the triangle treehouse. Copy confirmed. Did you do Treehouse Road this morning? Yeah, I had tracks of them out on top of your tracks from this morning, but going in both directions, and I couldn't find where he left the road. Okay, copy. I'm going to give this area one last sweep and head back down towards the dam, and then I might go check down towards Elephant Skull drainage line.
Sounds good, sir.
So there's always a possibility that we've missed the tracks and they've crossed somewhere that we just didn't see them, or that the ground was a bit hard. So we've done two sort of semi-loops in this area. We're going to do one last semi-loop, and if we don't get anything and we don't hear anything, we're going to move down to another area where he's likely to have moved from here if we missed his tracks coming out of this area. Good evening, Charlie in Cleveland. Welcome on Game Drive this evening. Charlie would like to know if there's, where we walk when we go look for the tracks and stuff like that, if there's anything like poison ivy here that could sort of cause irritation to the skin and whatnot. Around rocky outcrops and certain drainage lines, we do have some stinging nettles, but not too bad. Probably the things that cause the most irritation to the legs and skin are small acacias or buffalo thorns, those two species in particular, that you don't see in the grass, and they got incredibly sharp little hooked thorns, and they can do quite a bit of damage to your leg, and especially when you sort of get a bit of a fright when you step into it and you pull your leg away faster, it rips a bit. But other than that, there's not so much sort of stinging plants or plants that cause reactions like poison ivy or poison oak in this part of Africa. Now what we need to find as we come back towards where we were earlier is leopard tracks on top of our tracks from right now. That would be very exciting because we would know they are incredibly fresh. Come on, kitty cat. Whoopsie, sorry guys. Second time I've forgotten about that bump. Good evening, Rosie on Twitter. Rosie would like me to do an impression of a leopard sawing. I suppose I did a lion roar the other night, so it's only fair that I do a leopard as well. Well, let me just get myself into the moment. Think like leopard. Maybe we'll find a leopard. Okay, here we go. It's really raspy on your throat. That's pretty good though. Okay. Okay guys, so we've done 3 or 2.5 loops around this area where those leopard tracks were. We haven't got any coming out. There is a possibility we've missed them, but so we're going to move off into a different area where he could have moved if we have missed tracks. And Scott's got a nice buffalo, so we're going to cut across to Scott. Enjoy.
Well, welcome back, and we've got what looks to be one lone buffalo bull feeding here. I'm guessing there may be more members of a bachelor herd nearby. They typically do move in small herds when they do get to this older age. You may be wondering what is wrong with its skin. Well, there's actually nothing wrong. That's just caked mud that you'll notice speckling his black hide, and that would be a result of wallowing in the mud, and they do that in order to create a protective layer over their skin, preventing ectoparasites from bothering them. And at the time it's obviously nice and cool on the hotter days that we have here. I'm just going to need to edge forward a little bit. And we've left Brent searching one specific area where there are some male leopard tracks, and I'm going to head into an area where there was tracks of a female this morning close to Vuyatela Dam. And we'll leave this big old boy to his own devices. Or actually, hold on, you may see him adorning his horns on this tree. Here we go. And they do rub their body and horns against trees to alleviate itches, as well as polish up the boss, which is the main center bulge of their horns. But it looks like he's mainly focusing on working an itch behind his ear. But now he's back to grazing, so he just took a brief moment to utilize the big bush willow tree to do some scratching. And we'll continue on now. As he grazes on the grass that's drying out on a daily basis. So things will get tougher for the herbivores as the months go on. And I'll be interested to see whether there are any other members of the small herd nearby. because it is uncommon to see them alone. You'll notice I put my little jacket on. The temperature's dropping quite considerably now that the sun has disappeared behind the horizon. But it's a really magical evening out here. So calm and peaceful. And regardless of what the weather was doing, after an evening with sightings like we've had today, we would certainly have a smile on our face come rain or storm. Katrina in Washington, good evening and welcome on board. Katrina's asking whether the bigger and more impressive the buffalo's horns, the more attractive they'll appear to females. And yes, to a degree, but more importantly, what often happens with males that compete for females out here is that they are required to simply outcompete any competition, and you may find that a slightly younger buffalo bull with more vigor but still in his prime, in terms of horn size, it may have smaller horns. It may eat and outcompete excuse me, an older bigger male with massive horns. So there's always going to be slight variables, and
welcome back, guys. We're still checking the same drainage line that comes out of Treehouse Dam. There's no tracks come out on the road, so we're just using the spotlight. We're checking the edge to see if possibly he managed to sneak past us and we missed tracks.
and he did.
Oh yeah, well, we've got tracks again. Also still, but from earlier this morning, they're not that fresh.
Anyway, that was a nightjar. Very difficult to tell what kind of nightjar it is. They all look very similar, and actually the best way to be able to identify them is to actually catch them and open their wings and check their tail feathers, and from those primary wing feathers and long tail feathers you can establish which one's which, or you could hear them calling. Now, we have been hearing the fiery necked nightjar calling quite a lot since I've been back, and it's a beautiful, beautiful call that it would be wonderful to hear and share with you, but I doubt that this one is going to call while we are so nearby, and also when it is still early in the evening. As it gets darker, it will probably increase the amount of audio that we hear from it. And other than a few francolin calling, the bush is very quiet and still and calm. Very different to last night's conditions where it was windy and rainy. Good conditions for predators to hunt in. On a dead still night like this, it can be difficult for predators to creep up on their prey. So just something to bear in mind, how the weather does affect hunting conditions for predators. Also the fact that the moon is full means that, oh, looks like it maybe caught another insect there as it flew up and flew off. But we'll continue, and Katrina, just to continue answering your question, oh, it's landed in the road again, regarding the buffalo and their horn size. As a general rule of thumb, you could assume, yes, that a bull with bigger horns may outcompete a bull with smaller horns, but there are so many variables, because a bull with big horns will get old one day, and a younger bull with smaller horns would therefore possibly outcompete him. So it's not necessarily a given that a big horned buffalo will be dominant over a smaller horned buffalo. You may also find a buffalo with big horns and a small body may get bullied by a buffalo with a big body and small horns. So too many variables to give an exact answer on that question.
Are these cicadas we're hearing in the background?
They are indeed cicadas. So you may hear a buzzing noise, and thanks for pointing that out, Andrew. It almost sounds like an electrical interference. And we have actually had viewers complain in the past with the audio, but it's just the cicadas, or cicadas as they may be pronounced in different countries. Okay. Now we're approaching Vuyatela Dam. Approaching Vuyatela Dam, Brent, on Twin Dams Road, heading north. Just about to get visual. So sorry about that, just giving Brent an update. And it's so important for us to know where we are and what's going on, so we can make sure we don't double check the same area. Not that it hurts to double check, but it is sometimes more productive to spread out, which is what we've done this evening, in a search for leopard, which have not been successful over the last few days, but that's not uncommon out here to go for a few weeks without seeing leopard. They sometimes simply just elude us, and we're in the wrong place at the wrong time, at the right time, I guess. I'm just going to park on the dam wall here and use the spotlight to scan around. It's quite a good open vantage point. Wouldn't it be nice to come over this little rise and see a leopard drinking? It's happened before at this dam. There's some beautiful footage of Karula, a female leopard, drinking down at this dam. That was from just before I arrived here, kind of middle of November. I think Peter Pretorius was presenting that drive, and I just saw the footage of it. Really beautiful stuff. Okay. So I scan slowly along this bank of the dam, and what we're looking for is the reflection in the eyes of any animal that we may spot, and then from that reflection we would be able to then assume what kind of animal it is exactly. You may have seen a kingfisher just flew down and dropped into the water. You may have just seen a few ripples. There's a kingfish having an evening bath. And it looks like the coast is clear here at WildEarthTV Dam. Although there is still one hippo in the water, which is interesting because it is quite late. And that over there is not a star, but it's actually Venus, the planet, the goddess of beauty, and it's common for her to rise on our western horizon at this time of the year. Beautiful. I think I may have just heard some hyena audio. But if it was a very long way off. Just 10 minutes left. There's another little area that I'd like to check.
Can we just get a moonshot quickly?
Okay, sure. Sounds like a good plan. Andrew's taking you all on a bit of an intergalactic safari now. Out to space. And hard to believe that the moon is actually black in color. It's simply the shiny black material on the moon that reflects the sunlight, or reflects from the sunlight given from the sun, creating this white effect. And nearly full, but not quite there. Possibly tomorrow or the next day we'll have a full moon. And just magical to be able to sit here for a few moments and listen to whatever little noises we can hear and enjoy the tranquility of the situation. Well, good work there on the camera, Andrew, and I hope you all enjoyed that little trip to the moon. We are going to continue now and just poke our head around the next few corners here and see if anything of interest is available to share with you. Hoping to try and find a chameleon. They're actually easier to find at night than during the day, which is hard to believe, but it's because their coloration relative to a mass of green leaves is often slightly offset in the evenings, and with the spotlight they appear a slightly lighter shade then usually all the green coloured bushes that they sleep in. There's some buffalo bulls ahead of us in the road. I'll just shine on them briefly on their bottom, so we're not blinding them because we're obviously shining at the rear end. But we'll leave them there in peace and go and search another area. It's important not to shine the torch on especially the herbivores at night, because it does make it a lot more difficult for them to regain their night sights, and you don't want to leave any animal in a situation where it may come around a corner recovering from being blinded by us and then have to deal with any predator, and that's for obvious reasons. Well, folks, it's kind of time for me to recap, and what an afternoon it's been. An incredible afternoon spent with a pack of 8 wild dogs, something that we should all consider ourselves truly fortunate to have been a part of, and so glad that Brent and Brian were also there to share that with us. And Alex did a great job in the final control room, trying a few different maneuvers, switching between which vehicle the view was coming from, or the visual, as well as the audio. So well done to Alex on doing those changes, and from myself and Andrew on camera, who also did a great job this afternoon, a big thank you for joining us, and it'll be my so look forward to an adventure with them, and we'll cross over to Brent now in order for him to be able to say his goodbyes to you. So Mark and Brent will be out tomorrow morning, and I'm sure they'll no doubt have an adventure lined up for you. But a big good thank you again from me and Andrew, and we'll cross over to Brent so he can say goodbye. So have a good evening, and we'll catch up with you tomorrow afternoon from me personally.
Evening, guys. Thanks for joining us again this evening. It's been a really exciting carnivore in southern Africa, and the second most endangered canid in Africa. So we had a really great time with that, and we've got a few minutes left, so if anyone wants to get 1 or 2 last questions in, please send them to #SafariLive or email questions@WildEarthTV. Other than that, my just thoughts on the drive. It was quite nice together, being able to work that sighting, getting really great camera angles of both us as we worked and moved. And if they hadn't gone down onto that neighbouring property where Scott followed them and they'd stayed on Djuma, we hopefully would have been able to leapfrog them and try to see what they were going to do. But it's really positive that they're in the area. Other than that, the leopard duck continues. We got a question coming in quickly. Good evening, Doug in the USA. Doug would like to know whether the colder temperatures chill the water, therefore making the hippos leave the water. Yeah, definitely. They will definitely during the colder months. Sorry, earlier. Got me confused there. They'll leave a bit earlier, but that's more to do because it gets dark earlier, rather than to do with the water temperature. And they will come out to feed during the night. They won't spend the whole night in the water. And back to the nemesis for me at the moment are the leopards. So far, leopards 8, 7, 8, 9, Brent 0. But we will keep trying, and I promise it's not from lack of effort. We haven't found any yet. At least we've got some tracks on the property that we can work with. So we definitely will be making a conscious effort to try follow up on leopard in the next couple of drives. Other than that, it's been a really, really wonderful afternoon, and hopefully we can find a lot of time for one last question. Alex?